Alright, it is time for a tag video. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be the Postscript tag, which I saw at Berna's channel, Berna's Bookish Adventures, and I thought it was a nice way to sort of like wrap up the year, and especially because I didn't do many videos towards the end of the year. I didn't get to share sort of how my reading year went. I didn't do favorites or any of those things, so I thought, hey, the questions here give a really interesting sense of the year, so this might be my way to wrap up the year and start the year anew. So thanks Berna for posting your tag. I will leave the link up above. It was originally created by Memento Mori in 2018. I will leave the prompts down below. I did revise them to be evergreen. I hope that's okay. Just so that I wasn't saying 2018 when I was doing the tag. So here we go, the Postscript tag. So the first question is, what is the longest book you read this year and the book that took you the longest to finish? So probably will be no surprise, although I finished this while I was on break. So maybe it's news. But the longest book that I finished was Les Miserables. Yes, my 5-volume personal edition of Les Miserables. This book is 1,304 pages. I read from it daily, pretty much. It was on my weekly reading plan from April through to the end of October, and I did finish before Halloween, which was my goal. So I am very, very happy that I finished this. It took me quite a long time, but it did not take me the longest to finish. This took me 1 year and 8 months, but it was not the longest to finish. So let's do a bit of a countdown on the titles that were the longest to finish, which is the second part of the question. So at 1 year each, I finished the Edgar Allan Poe Ultimate Collection. This actually really was a lot of intensive effort. It's a collection of mostly short stories, but also poetry, and then 1 or 2 essays, and I just honestly, some of it was it was really hard to read. I ended up using a bookmark because of the font. I had not encountered that before, and sometimes I read the works on Kindle instead because I have a Kindle copy of some collections. I don't know where to go with Edgar Allan Poe, if I should continue reading. I didn't enjoy his work as much as I expected, and so I'm a little unsure what to do there, but needless to say, it did take me a year to finish it, and I did finish it. Yay! It also took me a year to finish Battle Royale by Koshan Takami. This is translated by Yuji Oniki, and this is 600 pages. This version 608 pages. It took me a year, and so with breaks, both of these are with breaks, but start to finish it was a year. And then at 2 years and 2 months, or 1 day, depending on how you look at it, is The Female Gaze, Essential Movies Made by Women by Alicia Malone. Start to finish, this was 2 years and 2 months. It was, but then I ended up really reading it all in 1 day as I cataloged all of the titles mentioned in this work, and put them forward as a potential film project to watch all of the movies or rewatch the ones that I'd seen, because I had seen a lot of them. There are sort of like I can't remember how many, if it's 10, 30, 50 or something, maybe 25, or that are like the essential ones, and then there's lots of other ones that are mentioned as well. I really enjoyed this, but I'm also just really surprised that when I sat down and read through it, it really took me a day. It took me a whole day, though. It was a tough day, and I was distracting myself. Yeah, so start to finish, 2 years, 2 months. Start to finish, 1 day. So strange, so strange. But the winner, the longest book, the longest it took me to read, what is the right way to phrase this? The book that took me the longest to finish was Diary of Anais Nin, Volume 1, 1931 to 1934. This took me 3 years. 3 years. I think it came up in all of the currently reading challenges, and it was just a really slow read for me. But I also realized with works like this, like diaries and some memoirs, I don't want to read them quickly. But this one had a lot of stop-starts, and I had a challenge with getting it. It was on script, and then it wasn't, and then it was again, and all this stuff. And there was library holds and all those things. But I really, 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 really enjoyed this. I am considering reading the second volume, but given that it took me 3 years to read this one, I am a little uncertain if I'm going to do that. Anyway, but that was the longest one. 3 years, but I did it. I finished it. Yay! Okay, question number 2. A book that you read that was outside your comfort zone. I have a couple answers for this. One of them is this collection of Captain America comics selected by Roy Thomas, because I really like the Captain America from the Marvel movies, and I hadn't read many Captain America. I haven't read any Captain America comics, but why it's outside my comfort zone is it meant I was starting a whole bunch of different Captain America, like, so this one's Captain America and Falcon. This one's Captain America. There's like Tales of the Something. Like, I was like, I did not realize that reading this would mean I was starting like 5 or 6 new series of comics. Like, that was not the plan. That was not the plan. So that is why it is outside my comfort zone. So I kind of goofed there. I don't know where I'm going to go with that in terms of if I am going to continue all of those series or pick one or not. I find the comics collections, the comics that have like multiple characters that are reinvented and have been around for a long time, I find it really hard to figure out where to start. But honestly, reading it in that collection was kind of good, because I got a little from a lot of different eras, but I still don't know what to do. Also, kind of outside my comfort zone is I listened to a bunch of Poirot short stories narrated by David Suchet and Hugh Fraser. I don't normally listen to fiction on audiobook. I don't normally listen to short story on audiobook, but they just happen to have a lot of them on Scribd, and a fair amount of them are like really around the same time that it takes me to do groceries. So I listened to all of the ones that were like of a certain length, and really enjoyed them. And now, since then, the TV version of Poirot with David Suchet and Hugh Fraser is on. Is that Hugh Fraser? Is that Hugh Fraser? I think it is. I should have double checked, but I think that is Hugh Fraser. But anyway, the Poirot TV series is on PBS. They started airing it. So I have been watching it and enjoying it so much. I love David Suchet. Like, no matter what he is in, I will watch, and I'm thrilled. And really am enjoying this Poirot, even though the TV series, although, and now I don't feel like I need to read short stories, although some of the stories I know because I've listened to them, which made me feel good, because that means my listening skills for fiction increased, because that's one of the reasons why I don't listen to a lot of fiction, is that I miss things. But one of the great things about Poirot is almost always at the end, he does a bit of a recap, a little, this is, let me tell you what happened. And so that was helpful for me, especially if like I was distracted in the middle of it because I was doing groceries. But by the time I was almost finished, Poirot would let you know how it all went down. So that was great. And yeah, so those are my out of my comfort zone reads, listens, and such. Number 3, how many books did you reread? I don't meticulously calculate this, but what I came up with is about 18. There were 13 of those are part of a series of unfortunate events, because I reread the entire series last year. So I guess that would make it more like 5, but I think I have more than that here, because the next question 4, is what's your favorite reread? I have several. The Wild Duck by Ibsen. I love this. I should probably just add this to my annual rereads. It's so good. It's so good. I also reread, and I hadn't read since I was a kid, I reread Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume, which was brilliant. Oh my goodness. It was so good. I really loved it. I didn't know if it would hold up over time, and it really did. It was really a beautiful read, and it was much more involved than I thought. I remembered all the sort of like preteen stuff, but there's also like, you know, questioning other things, and I thought it would handled it really well. There is a film coming out this year. The trailer has dropped. I haven't watched it. I think I'm just gonna watch the movie. I can't believe it's finally happening. We're finally getting a film for it. I have no idea if it'll evoke the same feeling from reading the book, but it's pretty exciting that a new generation, several generations later, will be able to engage with the story and hopefully encourage them to pick up the book as well. So yeah, so that was a really good one. I also really enjoyed reading Alligator Pie. Oh my god, this is by poems by Dennis Lee, pictures by Frank Newfield. This was great. I read this after reading Where the Sidewalk Ends, which I wasn't a huge fan of, and I realized for me something sort of around the same time of the same vibe was Alligator Pie, which is Canadian, and it's just the same sort of like a lot of nonsensical and weird and sometimes pretty creepy like poems and pictures and stuff like that, and I just realized for me this one had so much nostalgia and I remembered it so well. I could hear the poems in my head, and from saying them like so many times when I was a kid. I had the book when I was a kid, so yeah, there's that. So those are some of my favorite rereads from last year. Number 5, a book you read for the first time that you look forward to rereading in the future. This one I didn't have a really good answer for, but one of the things I did add to an annual reread, I have had reread Macbeth annually for several years, but last year I added into the mix Beowulf, and I did read this version, a new translation by Marina Davana Headley, which was a much more sort of contemporary take on it, and it's one story that I find really interesting, but I find like when I read it, I get so little from the actual text, like I understand so little, so I thought it might be an interesting project to come back to it year after year, so I am hoping to reread it again this year. I read it last year. I often pick a different format, but I think this year I might just go with the text. I've done like the graphic novels and stuff like that, and there's so many film adaptations. There's an orated version on Canopy that I really want to listen to / watch. But yeah, so Beowulf is my cheat answer for that one. A single short story or novella that you read. I have a lot for this one. I never answered just once. This is not the best picture, but it's what I could find. The Phoenix on the Sword by Robert E. Howard. This is one of the first titles I read last year. It's the first in the Conan the Barbarian series in the chronology that I'm reading it in. I really enjoyed it. Adventure story, sword and sorcery, you know, and it was a novelette. In terms of a short story, I really liked The Playground by Ray Bradbury. Wasn't my favorite of his, but I think it was my favorite from last year. Really interesting ideas, pretty creepy. Had some gender stuff that I wasn't a huge fan of. I just started to notice that when I read this one, but that's a whole side thing, and I hadn't noticed it until this point, so, and I have since noticed it, so just not as much inclusion of female characters outside the sort of standard roles we see in relationship to male characters, and especially in this one I didn't think we needed that, but it was still a really interesting idea, very engaging. In terms of, I also read something that I would put as like a collection or epistolary work, and that would be Love Creekwood by Becky Albertalli, which is a bunch of like texts and emails and stuff like that. I think it's mostly emails and texts. I don't know. Loved it. Finished off the series. Really enjoyed the entire series. So that was great, and it was a shorter work. In terms of a romance, contemporary romance novella, The Second Chance Road Trip for Christmas by Jackie Lau. Oh my, this is part of the Holidays with the Wong series. I love this. I love this so much. I read all 4 now. I've read all 4 now, and this is my favorite. And there's some scenes in this one that were just so good, and some moments that were just really, really great. So that was my favorite contemporary romance, and my favorite historical romance novella was The Undoing of Daisy Edwards by Margaret Kay. This was set in the 20s, I believe. Yeah, 20s. Was it? I think it was. And for a novella, it handled some tougher topics very well. And it was just really, the emotions were very interesting, especially because it's not just a standard romance in terms of getting to a happily ever after. I really felt there was quite a journey for the characters in that short period of time, and there is a sequel to it that I plan on reading it this year. Number 7, Mass Appeal, a book that you liked that would recommend to a wide variety of readers. I'm going to go with a couple nonfiction for this. Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. This was great. If you love comics or you feel like you want to get a better handle on understanding comics and how they tell stories and how they do things, this is fabulous. And then I would also recommend widely Feminism is for Everybody by Everybody by Bell Hooks. This was great. Absolutely fantastic. Widely recommend. 8, Specialized Appeal, a book you'd like but would be hesitant to recommend to just about anyone. I am pretty light on recommendations. I don't really like to push certain titles or anything like that. So I'm just going to skip that one. And I also can't think of a really diplomatic answer. So we're just going to leave that. Oh, there is a whole thing about reflecting on your bookish year, but my video card, like I'm running out of space here. So reflecting on your bookish content creator goals, memories, favorite videos. I would have to say overall it was a very bumpy year. I did stop making videos quite late in the year. I may or may not get into that at some point. And I feel like I did less readathons, less hauls, no vlogs. But I was very consistent with my 1 second every day. I got that up every month, so I'm very happy about that. Overall, I did 67 videos, 43 were book related, 6 were TV related, 6 were movie related, and then I had the 12 1 second every days. And I feel like it was variable. I think I did sort of like the best I could. I would like to do more vlogs. I would like to find my feet with TV and movie related videos. I haven't quite figured that out. And but I think it was a pretty good year, and beyond the bumpiness, and I think I just try and be more compassionate about sometimes, you know, life happens and you just you can't always be 100% consistent 100% of the time, and and that's just the truth, and so it was bumpy. I'm not gonna lie, but I think I did not bad. I think there were a lot of good conversations. I really enjoyed connecting with people. That's what I really have enjoyed with doing videos, and that was still always present, and that's the part that I appreciate so much. So yeah, so I think it was okay, and I have some ideas of what to do this year, and so hopefully I can implement those, and we'll see how that goes. The last is just to tag people. I'm very late to doing this tag, so I'm not going to tag anyone, but if you haven't yet wrapped up your year, this is a really great way to do it, so I encourage you to do that. I think I'm going to end up posting this in February, so you know, what are rules? What are rules? There aren't rules for videos, are there? Like, I mean, there's like the guidelines and stuff that, you know, like, anyway, so I'm going to leave things there. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what's the longest book that you read, and or what book took you the longest to read, and was it the same book? I was very surprised that mine was different. 3 years, and ASN finally did it. So very happy about that. Okay, that's it for this video. I will be back soon with another one. Thank you so much for watching.